Hi, I'm Becca and welcome to my channel, and today I want to show you how to make donut beads. Now, as you can see, there's some standard donut shape, which is your ring, but I've also done some heart shaped ones and I've done some Moroccan donut shaped ones. There's different ways you can go, and this is just some flower petal donuts that you can make as well. I'm going to show you quite a lot of different techniques of how you can treat your clay and decorate them in different ways. I've not done all of the types that you can do because the video would be like 3 hours long if I did absolutely everything. And as you can see, I've made quite a few donuts and I was going a bit donut crazy. I was dreaming about them. So yeah, so let's get started and I'll show you how to make some donut beads. Okay, so the first way that we're going to make some donut beads is just by using some scrap clay. I'm going to show you how you can make a larger donut bead and how you can make a smaller one. So I've just got my circle cutters here. It doesn't have to be circle cutters for this technique. Well, you do for your centre, but not for measuring out your clay. It's just basically so that you've got the same amount of clay depending on what size donut you want to do. So I'm going to use the biggest one. Now for a focal one, I'll take 2 circles, and then for some mini donuts we'll do 1 each. Now if you're wanting to be able to see the inside of your donut, sort of like the centre of it, then you can use just some coloured clay, but if you're decorating it, then you can just use scrap clay. So there's different things you can do. So I'm just taking my 2 for my larger one together, and I'm just rolling it into a ball. We've got our ball here, and then I've just got this rainbow cane, and I'm going to cover it with some slices. They don't need to be perfect, they're just basically enough to be able to cover the clay. Now you can match them up if you're doing something like me, or you could just put them in any which direction, so that is totally up to you. We've just got our ball here, so now I'm just going to rub it against my table with 2 fingers. And so you don't do this too much because it can distort your cane. So if you've got a really detailed cane, you don't want to do that. So doing it against the table will help you stop it from distorting. It's just simply to smooth it out and get all the pieces attached to the centre. Now this cane I've recently woke up and stretched it out, so don't need to worry about it cracking so much. If it's a really old cane that you've decided to use, then try and wake it up by squishing it, reducing it, or making it larger again. It's just so that when you put your slices onto your scrap clay, it's not going to crack as much. Because if you just like sort of use an old cane and not bother waking it up, then you can get some cracking and it can be difficult to smooth out. So okay, so as you can see here, now I've got it all covered and it's smooth. So what I'm going to do now is just decide on where I'm going to make the centre, and I'm just flattening it into a disc. And then once you've got it sort of to the size that you want, you can just take an acrylic block and you can just press it down, make it a little bit bigger as well. And flip it over, just work it on both sides just so that you can get it even. Now this is what I'm meaning, like with the sort of gaps that you can get in your in between your cane slices. So you just want to take something that's round, or you could just use your finger as well, but just take something and just smooth it out, and then it will fill that gap up. Okay, so round that back off now. Okay. So now this is when a larger circle cutter can come in handy. This is one of my larger ones. These cutters are available on my Etsy shop, which I'll link in the description. So if you wanted to just make it quite rounded, you can just do this So just circle it around and push it back into the right shape. Okay. Oops. Got a slice on there. Push that a bit more again. Now we're just going to cut out the centre hole. Now this is where I was saying if you wanted to use a coloured clay, you can use a coloured clay, or you can just use scrap clay and you can decorate it. So I'm going to choose one of the smaller ones. Now as you can see, my cutters are well used, so they need a good wash actually. So let's go. So this is a decision on whether if you want to have a large hole or a small hole. So again, another personal preference. So you've got to try and get it straight in the middle. Now it's up to you whether if you want to do an offset hole or whether if you want to do one straight in the middle. On this one I want it to be straight in the middle. Okay. There we go. So as you can see the little bits of the inside where the scrap clay is. So you can try and round it down with something that's round, and then you can decorate it. And another thing that you could actually do, I meant actually showing you this, you can get some cling film or plastic wrap, depending on whatever you call it, you know what you use for wrapping up food, and you can lay that over the top of your disc of clay and then press the cutter down into it and it will give you a smooth edge. And then you can also use the centre part that you've cut out. I'm just smoothing that off around the edge. And you can use that either for the top of an earring, or you could use it as a gemstone. Well, something like a fake gemstone, so that you can put some resin on and make it shiny, and then you could put it into bead embroidery pieces. So it's totally up to you. But obviously, you'll need to put something around the edge if you're just leaving it just plain like this, because then you won't see your scrap clay if you put something around the edge. So to cover up this centre piece, we can use some cane stubs. So I'm bringing out my box of little stubby pieces again, and I'm going to decorate that inside part just so that we can't see it as much. So let's see, what have we got? Right, I've got this one here, like this. It's just a purple leaf cane. Take a clean slice. And then I'm going to push it down against the table and then have it coming outwards. Okay. You can see, so it covers it up, and then from the other side it's just basically plain, but you can put them on both sides if you wish. But this is just the way that I'm going to cover up that scrap clay. So I'm going to go finish that and I'll come back and I'll show you the mini donuts. So as you can see, I've got my donuts decorated, so you can't see any of that scrap clay on the inside. But if you're just using a plain coloured clay, you wouldn't need to decorate the inside like I have here. But I just like the look of it, so that's why I do it anyway, and just use my scrap clay. So the next type of donut I'm going to show you is I'm going to use the same cane as what I've did the other ones with, and I'm going to create a bit of a slab, so to speak. So I've got this translucent clay mixed with some microfine glitter mixed in. This is sculpted translucent, and it's rolled out on a number 3 of my pasta machine. If you haven't got a pasta machine, you can actually use these, and you basically have 2 measuring sticks, if that's what you want to call them. They're a bit out of sync because I've not used them in a while. There we go. So that would be my number 1 on mine. Where's my number 3? And you get 2 for each thickness. Each one's slightly thinner than the one before. got number 3 and there, the other number 3. So these will be on sale in my Etsy shop, and these are for people who have not got a pasta machine. So you basically you lay your clay down onto your mat, and then you roll your rolling pin over it, and it won't go any thinner than how thick your setting is, well, whatever you pick. And I think there's 9 settings altogether that I've got. Yeah, it's either 8 or 9, something like that anyway. But they'll be on my Etsy shop as well. But I've just used my pasta machine. If you've not got a pasta machine and you can't get those, you could use some strips of cardboard stuck together in different thicknesses, like from a cereal box. Just make your own version of those if you're not wanting to buy those ones. Right, so let's get back to it. So I've got my bit of cane. Rolling pin to get in on the action. Just do a nice slice. Now that obviously is not a whole one, so I'm going to keep that to the side just in case I need a filler part. So let's try again. There we go. So that's probably 1 or 2 millimeters thick, something like that. So, and then you can decide how you want your pattern to be. So you could either keep your pattern so it's mirroring that way, or twirl it around, have it that way, or have it repeating that way. So it's totally up to you. I think I'm going to go for, let's have a look, stick with going that way. Now, a good thing to do is when you're doing slices and on a cane is just rotate the cane so that it gets a more even pressure, so it doesn't distort too much. Right, so let's go another one wide. So I'm wanting to do a large donut with this one, but you obviously do whatever size you want to. And I'm going to sort of mirror it so it's going the opposite way. Right, so I'll cut a piece on. So as you can see, the cane's distorted just a little bit with me cutting it because it's rather warm in my studio today, so it's a bit squishy. So the next step is you just need to get some sort of well, this is plastic from packaging that I've had, or you can use a piece of paper or parchment paper, something like that, and I'm just going to go over it and smooth it out. Now, you can also use your rolling pin, but don't go too hard because you can obviously distort your cane, but you're just wanting to mould those pieces together to the back clay that we've put down. Again, you don't need to use translucent, this is just what I've decided to use. So let's pop this up so you can have a look. As you can see, it's all smoothed out and into one cohesive piece now. So obviously I don't need all of this. So the next one I'm going to do is we're actually going to cut our donut out. Now if you've just got circle cutters, you can just use your circle cutters, but another thing that my husband's printed me off the 3D printer is some actual donut cutters that have got the hole already properly centered in the middle. Now he's done me 2 different sets. These are quite new to me, but he's done a set that's got a rather small hole, and then he's got one that's got the bigger hole, which is just like this. So obviously that's not big enough for me to do the largest one. So how many sets have I got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there's 7 in a set. So see if we can get 2 out of this one. If we go there, well, a good idea is just to have some sort of release. So I'm just spraying some water dipping my cutter in it. So let's try and get some that's got a bit of every colour in. And then there we go, just push it out gently. Don't push it too fast or she could distort your cane. I've obviously just not got enough release on it. Plus the clay is quite thick and the cutter's fairly shallow, so you don't want to make it too thick so you're not going to be able to get it out. That's quite a large hole in that one, so we'll try the other one with the smaller hole and I can show you the difference. Because they're all the same size wise, it's just the centre that's different. So that's the same one, yeah. So I'll try and make this one a little bit better. There we go, it's stuck down a little bit easier that time. There we go. Just lift this up. Right, so there you go. So we've got one that's got the large centre, one that's got the smaller centre in. So with the two sets, you can tell the difference with the smaller centre more on the larger ones. Get them all back over here now. I did have them all stacked up, they've obviously collapsed on me. So you can see that's the larger centre, but because it's got the smaller donut, it's got less surface on that's actually going to come out of your donut. But the larger you go with this, the bigger surface area that you've got to work with. And then the other way, you get with the smaller one, you get a decent sort of size workspace on it. So it's up to you depending on whatever size that you want to do. So if you've got any cracks or anything in, you can easily just smooth them out with your finger and just go around the edge. There you go. So obviously there's not much work area on that size of the donut, so it's good for you doing techniques like this where you've made a slab and you don't really need to do much to it, and then it's just got the glitter translucent on the back, and then we've got the next size up. And then again with these centerpieces, I'll still save these and I will use them for something else. I could actually use them as the, if I was making dangle earrings, I could use them for the post back of the earring when I'm doing that one. So I could make some more of those. So I'm going to go smooth these ones out and I'll come back with the next one. So we're back with our next donut type and we're going to create another slab, but we're going to use some different types of canes to create a different sort of slab to what we've just done. So rather than just a plain background and cutting them out, I'm going to create sort of like an imaged background by using different canes. So I've just got this flower cane and I'm going to just use my needle tool to define the petals. And I've got some green glitter clay that I've rolled out on my past machine on number 3. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take some thin slices and I'm going to put them in different spots around the slab. So I'll just do those few at the moment, so you're not getting too bored. Now I've got my little cane stubs again, and I'm just going to find a leaf cane. See if I've got one in here. Instead, I'm actually going to use this peacock feather cane. Just a really simple one that I think I did a tutorial on it, so I'll link it in the description box for you if you've not seen it. It doesn't have to be a particular type of cane, you're just basically creating a background for you to be able to cut out again. Now you can spend as much time on this as you want, so don't be in a rush for it. It can be quite therapeutic doing something like this, having just sort of a repetitive job to do that you can just either have an audiobook playing in the background or some music, or even just having the telly on as well. You can have that one on as well. Okay, so I'll just show you what I'm going to do with these two now. So, right, where's my... So I've got all my sort of sculpting tools here. So let's find... which one's always going for? So I'm going to push down on each of the petals just to give it some dimension. Use my needle tool to just make some impressions on this to make it more of in a leaf sort of shape. I've got my slab on a piece of plastic, like what we smoothed out one, or you could put it onto a little tile or a piece of paper, just something so that it's easier for you to move it around and do your work to it. So that's all I need. So I don't know how well you can actually see the impressions on there, but it's just, I've just put some veins onto the feather slicers just so that it looks a bit more like a leaf. So I'm going to go away and do some more of that and put other bits and pieces on it, and I'll come back when the slab's finished so you know what I'm going to be working with. So I've got all my cane slicers put on, and I used the piece of plastic again just to smooth them over, just to make sure that they were adhered properly to the clay. And as I showed you, I've done all the lines on the leaves as well. But now what I want to show you to do is you can add some more detail to this by putting additional texture in, just like what I've done on the cane slicers. So I've got all these tools that I can use to put some different textures into it. Now just have a look around your home or your studio just to look for different things. You don't have to buy lots of different tools. I mean, these are from my nail stuff that I got from, I think it was Avon that I got it from, with the nail varnish. I think it's a magnet doofer, but it's just got these little dots on the end. So you can just press it down into the clay and give it some additional texture. You can see now it's just got all of those little dimples in it. So I think what I'm going to do now is, in all these spiral cane dots here, I think I'm going to put a little sort of well into the bottom of it. So just going to take, it's just a ball tool this, I'm using a medium-sized ball tool. Now a lot of these canes, they've been in my little basket for a while, so they have been a bit crumbly. So when I've been getting anything that's broken off where I don't want it to be, I'm just using my needle tool just to pick them off, and don't worry about it too much. So I've got, this is another nail tool that I've got where it's got a curved edge on. Other thing you could use is a straw. Just use the, in fact let's use the straws. Most of you are probably going to have one of these straws these days. So let's just go in between here. So it sort of mirrors the spiral cane slices that I've got. Just adds a different shape to the mix. This is just some orange I've got left over from a cane that I've been doing. So I'm just going to take some tiny little slivers, and it doesn't need to be perfect. So what we're going to do is I'm going to roll them up into little balls like this. it doesn't matter that the different thicknesses, the little balls they are. Now I'm just going to pick them up with my needle tool, which are in the camera. It would help. So and then I'm just going to pop it in the centre of those little circles. And then I'll take an even smaller ball tool. Let's have what we've got. I'm just going to push those down in the centre. So I'll go and finish this off and I'll come back and we'll have a finished slab. So I've got my slab all finished, so I've got all that texture added in and all those little orange dots then. So now I'm just going to cut out my donuts. Now for this one I'm going to use a different shaped donut. This is my Moroccan donut. I think I've got two different ones that are on my Etsy shop. But again, you can just use your circle cutters or whatever cutters that you've got. I'm just showing you the different ones that I've got. So this is your large one. It's a set of 7 this one. Yeah, 7. So I'm going to do as many as I can out of it in varying sizes. So you can sort of try and organise it so that you get the most out of it, or you can position where your cutter's going to land. So obviously it's going to cut out this centrepiece here. So you need to be aware of that. Those little pieces you can save for something else. So let's go there with this one. Get at least one. Oh, and that's me going and I've sprayed my water and then I'm not going to dip it in. Put it back over now. So that one's not quite gone through. Let's take it off the plastic. That might have been the reason. It's a bit of copper. Good thing with these is because I've already pressed it down. It's I can feel where it needs to go back in. Ah, there we go. That's better. And then just gently push out the donut if it just gets a little bit stuck. And same as the other ones, you can just smooth off the sides. So the largest one is from point to point, it's about 2 inches or just under 2 inches. So this is a more textured donut. If you don't like it like this, just cut your slices of your cane thinner. I've just done it quite 3D. I just want to show you the different things that you can get. Now that one I can use as a drop to go at the bottom of this, or I can use it for the top of an earring, or for on a different necklace or something like that. So I've got at least one big one, so let's get a couple of the smaller sizes. So, and, dip it in your release. You can use cornstarch or something like that, but I find it's a bit messy compared to water, whereas the water just evaporates fairly quickly. So let's that one. And then if that happens, if you can, if you've got one that is, if you just get a craft knife, you can just go around the outside. Because it's quite thick, this clay, so I think that might be why what's doing it with it being 3D. And then if you get any of these little, bits that break off from your canes, just find a needle tool. There we go. You can just pick them off if they've just gone a bit too crumbly. Because my decorating canes are rather old now, so I probably ought to get them used up and probably just make them into some scrap clay or something like that. So I'm just going to go and work at trying to get as many as I can out of this. This is the smallest one, but I don't think you're going to get much detail out of the big flowers, but it would be alright for, like sort of in between to pick up the smaller pieces, but I might end up just using some circle cutters as well just to make some of these, but I'll do as many as I can and I'll come back and show you how many I've got. So I've got them all cut out now, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over the top of it with just a really thin layer of this Female liquid gel. It's just to make sure that these cane slices that are still a little bit crumbly, just to make sure that they are stuck together and that they don't snap off. Now you don't have to do this, I'm just simply doing it just to be on the safe side. It dries clear, so there's no need to worry about it. You could actually use this as your top glaze if you wanted, but obviously if you want it to be more shiny, then you can use something else to coat them afterwards. So I'm going to do that on all of these pieces and get that bit of clumpy one out of there, and then I'll come back and show you the next type. The next one that I'm going to do is using a Skinner blend. If you've not made one of these before, I've got a video that shows you how to make them, and I've done plenty of other videos that actually just show you what to do. But what I'm going to show you now is how to get the colours closer together. So I'm just going to fold it up on itself, and then I'm going to run it through the pasta machine on a number 1. Just coming from this end first, and then I'm going to take it down a couple of sizes and then come back and show you what we need to do. So I've got a really long skinny strip now, and all we're going to do is fan fold it. So try to make sure there's as little air in there as possible. We are going to squish it so to get some of the air out, but if you can get it out while you're doing it, then saves you a job later on. So I've got it all fan folded now. So you just want to take your acrylic block, pick up these little crumbly bits, and we're just going to squish it down. And this will compress out any of the air that's left in there in between the folds that you've just made. Now, depending on how big you want your donuts to be, will it depend on how wide you want to make this. When it goes through the pasta machine, it will disperse out a little bit, so you want to make it just a little bit shorter than you want it to be when you're doing. So I'm just rolling it with the roller a bit first. Sorry, that's my computer going off. So I went and had a look at my cutters, and I do have a different Moroccan donut cutter set. So let's see what size we'll go for. If we go for the, not the biggest one, but we'll go for the next size down. So I'm going to run this through the pasta machine on a number 1. Okay, and then we've got our nice Skinner blend, and the colours are closer together. So now what you can do is you can just cut them out, and you'll get that nice gradation from the darker colour to the lighter colour. Or say if you're using a rainbow blend, you could do it like that and it'll get all the different colours in. So again, all you need to do is just get something as a release, dip your cutter in, and then press down. And then you've got your lovely donut. So you can either leave these as they are, or you could decorate them. You could put some textures on, you could use some moulds to make some different shapes on them. Textures, just lots of different things that you could do with it. I'm just showing you the different ways how to make the bases for you to be able to decorate your donuts the way that you want to. So I'll go and cut the rest of these out and come back with the next one. So the next background way that I'm going to use is I've just got a little bit of Female Night Glow, I think it is. It's the glow in the dark one mixed with a little bit of white translucent. I just wanted a plain white background, so hopefully this will work anyway. I've also got some coloured leaf that I've not played with yet so far, so I thought we'd use this instead of just the silver and gold. So in fact, let's go for my favourite colour, as I always do. Go for some purple. So I've got this clay rolled out on a number 1 on my pasta machine, so my thickest setting. Let's try and get this out without it floating away. That is a really nice colour. So it doesn't matter that it's got crinkles in it, because we're going to crinkle it up even more. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to trim off the excess. I'm going to roll it through the pasta machine on the next setting down one way, and then I'm going to turn it the other way and go one setting down again, and we'll get some nice crackles. There we go, so we've got some nice crackles going on there. So you could roll it out a little bit thinner if you wanted to get the crackles a bit further apart, but this is perfect for what I'm wanting to do. So with this, I'm just going to use my heart-shaped donut cutters, which are these, and these are the ones that have got a fairly small heart in the centre. I think we're going to be doing one that's got a slightly larger heart setting at the moment, but I've just not got those ones printed off. So again, I'm just going to do exactly the same as the other ones. I'm going to use the water as a release. I'm going to cut out my donuts and I'm going to decorate them, and then I'll show you at the end what they all look like. So I'll come back with the next background. So the next way of making donuts is by just creating different textures. I've already shown you that you can use different tools to create textures, but these are texture plates and stamps, or in this case an embossing folder. These ones are rigid ones. I think these are for cake decorating. These are just some stamps that you can press into, and these ones are for paper embossing, just onto a machine, and they've just got different patterns on each side. So with an embossing folder, it's got imprint on both sides, so one side's raised and one side's the debossed sort of side, so it goes inwards. So when you do this technique, you get something on at the front and the back of whatever you're creating. So you'll need a release, so you can use cornstarch or just use water like I've used on other things, and just give your embossing folder a good spray, and that will stop it sticking to it. And then just put some clay in there, and this is rolled out on my thickest setting of the pasta machine, and then you just need to press down on it. Now normally with embossing folders you run them through a machine, but obviously you can't do that with the clay, so you just need to make sure that you get it pressed down a fair bit on both sides. You can use your rolling pin to go over it, or you can, even if you've got your extruder and you want something that's more flat, rather than using the end of this one that's beveled, you can just press down and this way. Okay, so as you can see, that's got some texture on it. So it's a little bit wet at the moment, so I'm just going to let that dry up. I'll be back in just a second. So I've got all the water off, and I'm just going back to my regular circle cutters. Don't want them quite as big as that one. So I'm going to do two, so I can show you with the embossing folders it's different on both sides. So let's just press down. Okay. Then you can cut some more out of that, but because we've not put anything on it yet, you can just roll it up and use it for another project. So now let's choose what size center we're going to. So I think I'll go for the second size in this one. So if you've not got circle cutters, you can find other things to use, such as bottle lids, or if you've got what are they called, teacup saucers. You know, if you've got the really teeny tiny espresso type size, just anything that's round that you can cut around or press into the clay. There we go, and that's a bit of an offset one, but never mind, it'll still work. Right. So I'm going to just release these from the mat, because it's glass it sticks. So if you've got these furry bits that are around the edge, just use your finger to smooth them out. Okay, So this is the one where it's got the impression pressed down into it, so this one will have it so that it's more raised up. Right, so I've got them all smoothed out, so a little bit more now. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to use some mica powders just to go over it so that it highlights the pattern that's there. Now mica powders are just basically a really fine sort of powder. That's as basically as what it is. I've got these from a craft store this morning, but I've not used them yet, so I thought I'd use them on camera today. Or you can get them in different sets, so you can get them in bottles, you can get them in little plastic bags. What else can you get them in? You can even use chalk pastels to scratch some off, or you could use eyeshadows. That's another good one to use. So I'm just going to need a brush. Right, so I've just got a normal paintbrush. I'm just going to dip it into the powder. I'm just going to brush over. Oh, I like that. See, these mica powders, they will come up with different colours depending on what base clay that you're using. So this colour will be different on a white background, and it'll be different on a regular pink background. So I'm going to do them so they've got like a mixture of colours on. So let's yeah, seems to have got a bit of a blue tint, this one. And you can do both sides of your donut. I'm just showing you the difference now. So let's get a different colour. What else shall we go for? I've got one of these. It looks white, but I know that it's going to have some sort of tint to it. So let's see what they come out like. Oh, it's green. I'd have thought green. Very, very nice. And then I've got another one of those. Let's have a look. I'll go with this one. Oh, and this one's pink. A little bit purple with it being on the black background. Them up so I can show you. Sorry, that's my computer. So that's one with the impression that's pressed down into the clay, and then this one's where it's more raised up. So it's personal choice really of what you want to do with it. So I think I'm going to do both the backs on these ones. And another way to apply it to the clay so it doesn't go down into the little divvies of like the impressions of what you've made, you can apply it with your finger so you get more of a controlled amount that's going on rather than using brush which will go down into the impressions. So you can just use your finger and just put a little bit of the powder on and just lightly brush across. And this way, whatever colour you've used as a background colour will show through the colour that you're putting on top. These are just the circles from the centre of the donuts that you saw me cut out, but I just thought I'd show you a different way of applying it so that you get that different change for whichever way you want to do it. So I'll come back with the last donuts. So the last way that I'm going to show you how to make a donut is not a typical strict round donut. It's by using a petal cutter. There's different petal cutters out there on the market. These are just the ones that I've got, but this is just a regular teardrop cutter, and these are some multi-teardrop cutters that you can use that just cut out more than one at a time if you're making absolutely loads of them. And this is just a set of different flower cutters that my husband's printed off for me. You could even use just plain ovals if you wanted to use that if you'd not got anything else. But again, if you've got something like these ferrules that have been shaped, or you can shape your own, they basically come in circular to start with, but then I've just bent these into different shapes. Where's the teardrop one? Yeah. So that's the biggest one of that. So you can make your own little cutters. So if your husband or your partner's got some of these in his toolbox, see if you can pinch some and you can make some of your own. So I'm going to be using some Cernate Opaline clay for this one. It's brand new to me. I've never used Cernate clay before, and I got this for Mother's Day, and he's so soft to condition, but it's perfect for this. So you just need to cut out your teardrops. So for quickness, I'm just going to use the multi-cutters. Which size should we go for? This one. And then I'm going to put it on my acrylic block again for you, just so that it's easier for me to lift it up to show you. So again, you want your water as a release. So just dip it in and push down. So take those off for now. Oops, I'm stuck to the... Get them in a minute. So then all you need to do is, so you can either leave them blank or you can put some texture into them. So just with putting the texture on, I just use my needle tool and I just put 2 lines going down, so it spreads it out and it gives it that more of a look of a petal. So you just need to decide how many you want, how many petals that you want your flower to have. So we're going to create a circle by aligning them up. But when we're doing the base layer, you can leave a bit of a gap. Now these are going to be very tiny ones. But if you want bigger ones, then obviously you go for your bigger cutters. Right, so I've got them lined up like that. Just make sure that they're close enough together that the next layer is going to connect. This is very, very sticky, so you could actually put your lines in while it's on here. And then the next layer we're just going to put connecting the 2 bottom ones. Right, so it's created a full circle. So now what you can do is, you could either use something to push the petals down here into your base, so you get that nice circle that you do with a donut, so that you've got something to bead through. Or if you've got a teeny tiny little circle cutter, you can push that in and it'll take out any excess that you've got. You can make these double-sided, but I think with this clay being as squishy as it is, I'm going to have to bake each side first and then put them together. But that's basically it. Now you can colour them with mica powders like I showed you on the previous donut, or you could just use regular clay and you could dust them with something else, or just leave them plain like this if this is what you want. So I'll go and get these finished up with this very squishy clay, and I'll come back with all the baked pieces and I'll show you how to glaze them. So the last stage of our donuts is to glaze them. Now any that have had a surface treatment put on them, like with the tropical glaze or rhinestones or anything like that, you want to just put a thin coat of something on. There's different things that you can use, so I'll just move these to the side. Now one way is by using UV resin. That will give you a nice domed effect on your donuts, or the little offcuts that we've done that have come out in the middle of your donuts, things like that. So you can just put one layer on, or you could put 2 or 3 on depending on how dome-like you want it to be. You just need a UV lamp for this to cure. I do quite a lot of mine with this, just one because it's quick, that's the only reason. But then there's other glosses that you can use. Now this is a modelling water-based polyurethane varnish that I got from a craft modelling shop, and I've just put it into one of these little jars, and I just added a little bit of water just to thin it out. But then you can either just use a paintbrush and just dip it into the glaze and paint it on the top, or you could just use your finger and wipe it on if you want, but I find it's easiest with the brush. The other one that I've got is a Winsor & Newton UV gloss varnish, UV resistant should I say. I've not got the original bottle for this one, but I got this one from the range. It wasn't all that expensive. It's basically a different version of this. I just wanted to see whether if there were any different, but like this one says, it's just UV resistant. So depending on what you want, then you just pick what you want. And then the last one that I've got is this Pledge Revive It, which is a floor gloss. You can water this down a little bit as well, or you could just use it direct. Again, I've just put it into a jar, and I either dip my beads into it, or again I use the brush to coat it. So because I've got so many donuts that I'm wanting to get glazed, I'm not going to show you me actually doing it, because it's just going to be too long for me to show you doing all of them. I'll just show you one of the let's show you one of these smaller pieces with the UV resin, just in case you've not seen this. Brushing it on, you don't really need instruction of how to brush something onto something. But, so I just take it straight from the bottle. Now I like doing them when they're still sort of stuck to the tile, just simply so that they don't move around and it's less fiddly. So I'm just going to put a thin coat on. That's the first layer. And then you can wait for it to even out. As you can see, it's got that nice shine to it. Now another tip that I've picked up, I can't remember who it was that it was on a video, but I can't remember which one it was. But if you just take a little lighter as such, and then if you just go over the resin, don't actually touch the resin, this helps pop any bubbles that are underneath it. And then you just need to put that under a UV lamp. I think mine's for 120 seconds, but it can be less, and then I'll just coat it again and put as many on until I've got it how I want it to look. So I'm going to go off and do all my glazing, and I'll be back just to show you absolutely everything we've made, and you'll be able to see what I've done. So as you can see, I've been very busy making lots and lots of donuts. So as you can see, there's quite a lot here, so it's going to take me a while to work through all of these, so I'll probably be using them forever and a day. But some I've not bothered putting any resin on. I did go over them with a layer of the this, just to make sure that the rhinestones stayed in on that one, and that's just a rainbow background with some leaves on it and then some little rhinestones put in just as an added embellishment. This one's basically just plain clay that I've put a few cane slices on, and I've put little bits of different texture on it. I think I used a ballpoint pen for that one, or oh no, it went, I think it was one of the what you get for diamond art things. I did a little hole with the rhinestone dabber thing, I don't know what you call it, and then I just put a dot with my needle tool in the centre of those ones. This is just a basic veneer, and I've just glazed over the top of that one, and I've just got plain coloured clay on the back. These ones are all with that transitional blend that I made, so I've got some in the Moroccan donut shape, and I've got some regular circles, and I've got these little tiny ones which were just basically scrap clay covered with cane slices. And same with a lot of these. I cover them with cane slices and then just put some more on top when I'd cut the centre out already. And these are the microshift ones that we did, and I'm really happy with how they turned out. So I can use them either way because I've glazed both sides of them. So I can have one this way and I can have the other one the other way, so I can get two different ones out of that one. And this one was just, I think yes, this was the Paradox cane that I just used to cover some scrap clay again. So as you can see, there's lots of different ways that you can go with this. I could be going on forever and a day just showing you different techniques of what you can cover your clay with to have a different effect on it. And you also end up, if you save all your bits and pieces from the centre of your donuts. Now this is just a nice little round one. I can use that as a cabochon on its own. And then I've got a few odd round ones because I didn't want to waste any of my veneer at all. So if I could manage to cut something out of it, I did, and I've just saved them just for if I want them for something a little bit extra. Majority of them I've glazed with UV resin so that can go back in the oven, because the other types of varnish and the two-part epoxy resin you can't put back in the oven, but whereas these ones, because they've got the UV resin on top, they're fine to go back in. So if I want to place it within something else in my clay, then I can do. So I've got some really tiny, and these teeny tiny hearts, I'm sure I'll find something for them. I could use them as embellishments on other donuts really, but yeah, I've just got this nice little dish that I can use for other things. So I hope you've enjoyed that and it's inspired you to have a go at making some donuts. If you've got any questions, pop them in the comments. I'm happy to answer them, as I always am. And if you've liked the video, if you could give me a thumbs up, that'd be appreciated. And if you've not subscribed, consider subscribing, that would be appreciated too. So thanks for watching, I'll see you next time. Bye!